Hi, Gene Monterastelli here, the editor of tappingqanda.com. The video that you are about to watch is a conversation that was a part of this year's 24 Hours of Tapping. The 24 Hours of Tapping is a fundraiser for the amazing work that is done by the Peaceful Heart Network. The Peaceful Heart Network has brought tapping to migrants, refugees, prisoners, and the underprivileged in over 30 countries all over the world. As you watch this video, if you learned something, if you were touched by it, if you were inspired by it, the easiest way to say thank you is to support the work of the Peaceful Heart Network. To do that, all you need to do is go to 24hoursoftapping.com/support. And as you look in the description and the first comment down below, you will see a direct link to that. I hope you enjoy this conversation. And so my next guest is my friend, Julie Schiffman. Every single time I have asked Julie for something in the 10 years that I have known her, the answer has always been yes. How can I be there? How can I be helpful? She is so generous in her sharing. Julie holds a master's degree in social work and internationally recognized expert EFT practitioner. For more than 30 years, Julie has counseled thousands of clients, helping them break through physical and emotional barriers. Her life-changing YouTube videos have been viewed more than 5 million times. Julie is trained in multiple healing modalities, but is best known for her expertise in emotional freedom technique tapping. In her private practice, she uses energy medicine techniques to help clients all over the globe overcome their physical and emotional challenges. Please welcome to our virtual stage, my friend Julie.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. Hello. First of all, you're going to have to add me to your tear tally because I'm sitting back there and I am like sobbing. I got like my tissue here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm tapping along. I mean, so beautiful. I mean, I just can't even express. It just makes me so emotional to think about what you're doing, what your team is doing, what everybody's doing, you know, in the collaboration of it all. And it's really just so profound. And it goes beyond, you know, this 24 hours, we know that, right? It just goes beyond and beyond and the ripple effect. And I can't believe how emotional I am. I just hopped on a few minutes ago.
I've been crying for the last 20 straight hours. So you are in good company at this particular point.
God.
The fact that I'm
amazing.
Stringing sentences together is a small miracle at this point. So with all of that being said, I was so excited when I saw your notes and I saw your title and the fact that you wanted to have this conversation. I'm always fascinated by word choice. Like one of the things I recognize in my own life is that I emotionally respond to the world the way that I describe it. And so I'm always very, very careful and trying to be as specific as I can about the words that I'm using, because when I describe things accurately, it helps me to respond to that. And so when I saw the word secrets from your cells, boy, was my interest piqued inside of that. And so I would give me the entry point. I'm curious what you're thinking. How does all of this fit together for you as we look at cellular level, what we're carrying inside of that? So just at the top level, what do you mean by secrets from your cells?
So first of all, I want to share that this topic is so important because secrets, all the secrets we have, our thoughts, our experiences, all the things that we don't talk about, the things that we hold, you know, stored in our minds and in our body, it can affect us so profoundly. And that's why this is so important to talk about it, because secrets are the things that we don't talk about. So it's important to get this out there and to talk about it. You know, so the things that we don't talk about, we know can manifest into physiological, emotional, and mental suffering. And I have been so privileged to work with literally thousands of people over the past 25 years or so. And I have been so privileged that these beautiful people have trusted me with their secrets, or for some, we may call them traumas, right? And the things that they haven't been able to share with anyone, the things that that they say, I'm going to take this to my grave, right? And it never starts that way, of course. They don't send me an email and say, hey, can we meet so I can tell you my deepest, darkest secrets, right? It doesn't start that way. But they contact me because they're sick, or they're in pain, or they're struggling with anxiety, they're struggling with depression, a weakened immune system, cancer, you know, whatever it is. And when we start to address pain and we start to address symptoms and things that are going on in the body and problems and challenges in their lives, we ask questions and all of that. And more so than not, the secrets are the main ingredient to healing. Truly, it is a game changer. I had a client recently who was in her late 70s, and she was struggling with terrible pelvic and low back pain. And she had it for years. And we did some detective work, as we do, right? We ask all the questions. And at the root of this pain was grief and sadness and guilt, because she shared with me that she had an abortion when she was 17 years old, and she didn't tell anyone about it. The only person who knew about it was her boyfriend at that time. She didn't tell her parents. She didn't tell her best friend. She didn't tell anyone about this. And, as I said, she's in her 70s. She went on to get married. She went on to have her own children, still never told anyone about it. And in fact, when we were talking about this, she was shocked that it even came up. Yet it was something that was always in the back of her mind. It was sort of this dark cloud that followed her, right? And so she had a story in her head. She's not good enough. She's not deserving. She deserves to be punished. She deserves to suffer, all of those things. And once she was able to embrace what she determined to be mistakes or choices that she made, she wishes didn't happen, right? All of those things, that she was able to create some forgiveness around it for herself and the circumstances. And at that point, the pain in her body just dissipated so much. I mean, it was just incredible to see and hear how that created such a shift and a change for her. And here she's in her 70s. Imagine if she did this when she was 17 or 25 or 30, right? Imagine what the freedom that could have given her. So secrets can be anything. It's the things that we do not share because of the fear of either how it's going to be received or how it's going to make us look. And that gets trapped in the body.
And what's really interesting about that there is the sense of secret is something that is 100% relative as to how we understand ourselves and how we understand our place in the world. Because you could have something that is, something you talk about on your Instagram stories when you're out taking your walk in the morning, and I wouldn't breathe a word of it to anybody I know in my life in any context at all. And it could be the exact same thing, because it's not about the piece of information. It's about our relationship to that piece of information and what we think it says about us or about the world or how we fit into the world in that particular way. And so I can see how that immediately can become like not only emotionally detrimental, how physically detrimental that becomes, because we are living in one of those dysregulated emotional states all of the time. Because I have a feeling with the folks that you're working with, it's not like I have my secret from 2 to 4 in the afternoon.
That's right.
Like it's not like my sneakers I put on when I'm working out and I take them off when I'm done. Right. That this is something, again, I have a feeling, because if it's this thing that goes to our heart and our identity, well, I take my identity with me everywhere I go. And like I have a little different identity at work than I do with my family and those sorts of things. But for the most part, that doesn't stray. Am I like assessing the kind of the consequence and why this is so insidious accurately, or at least the way you're thinking about it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so then, like, what are the actual tangible consequences of that? Like I can go, yes, the secret is heavy, and I can, and like I can tell you exactly what is going on in this particular muscle and what that stiffness is. But we're talking about something much more severe than, bookkeeping and things I don't want to do in my business. Like how does it show up? What is the impact? How does it start to hurt us in that way?
Sure, because at the end of the day, it's between us and ourselves, right? It's just between me and nobody else. There's nothing else, right? It's not about the bookkeeping or the job you have to do. This is something you live with every single day in your thoughts and your nervous system. And research has shown time and time again that emotions, traumas, experiences can actually get trapped and stored in our body. They get trapped in our cells, in our organs, our glands, our systems, our energy system. And when we have emotions, we have stories that we don't honor. We don't honor what we feel. We don't honor what we're thinking. We don't honor what we need. When we have a trauma, or we'll say a secret, that we don't acknowledge, this gets internalized. It gets denied. We repress it. We disconnect from it. And each part of our body is listening and responding to what is going on inside of our mind, our heart, our body, our spirit. And honestly, there is not one part of our physiological self that is not influenced by our thoughts and our feelings. So we know that thoughts, emotions, they're all energy. And when we don't express it, it manifests in our body. It just has no other option, right? I mean, it's energy, like the computer that I'm sitting at, or the desk that I'm sitting at, or looking at you right now, you and me. We're all made up of energy, right? We can actually see that with our eyes. We can feel it with our hands, right? It's tangible. We can actually grasp it. But our somatic nervous system, if you think about all the things you can't see what's going on, right? So your somatic nervous system is affected. Your hormones are affected under stress. Your tissues are affected. Your glands are affected. Your parasympathetic nervous system, all parts of your nervous system are affected. And then we start to feel it in our body. Our body starts to speak to us. So, and this isn't to victimize us in any way, right? It's to protect us. It's to create some safety for us. And we don't even have to think about these secrets. As you said, they're just sort of there, right? It's like this cloud. Yeah. It just sort of follows along with us. But it's like that book, if you have read it before, Our Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. The body keeps the score. It holds on to the thoughts, the feelings, the pictures. And so I'd actually like to do a little experiment here with you and with everybody who's listening before we get into tapping, but I'd like you to just sort of feel this. And so I'd like you to connect for a moment with the feeling of anger. I think everybody can sort of connect with anger. Now, you've been tapping for 20 some odd hours, so you may not feel too angry right now, but
no, I can still find it. It's not on the surface, but there are a couple of circumstances I can think about in the world right now. And I think we can find our way to a little of that. So let me find some of that indignation.
So connect with anger. And I would ask everybody listening to connect with something, maybe in the last hour, the last 24 hours, the last week, just connect with something that makes you feel angry. And identify in your body where you feel it. You can feel it. You can't see it, but you can feel it. And so it's there. It's there, and it's speaking to you. And so it might show up as a crick in the neck. It might show up as a lump in your throat, maybe something in your gut, some tension. So just pay attention to that, right? And at this moment, we're not going to do anything with that, although I would urge you at some point to go ahead and tap on that, right? But at this moment, we're not going to. We're doing this because I want you to identify the emotion, and I want you to identify that you can't see it, but you can feel it. And the more that gets stuffed down, or the more anger, the different circumstances that happen throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout your life, there becomes a threshold. And at some point, that threshold gets weaker and weaker. And then suddenly we start to really feel it. Suddenly it becomes a back pain, a knee pain, a shoulder thing, whatever. So now what I want you to do is disconnect from that anger. And I want you to connect with love. I want you to connect with pure love. And connect with your heart and your breath. Breathe into that love. See the picture behind me. Just love just coming at you, right? And it feels really good, right? It feels really peaceful and joyful. And I even think about Eugene and your team. So much love for all of you. I mean, it just makes my heart swell with love, just thinking about everything that all of you are doing. I mean, it's just nothing but pure love. And that's a very different feeling than the anger we were just connected with, right?
So much so, the shape of my body is different. Mm. I mean, because for me, there was tension, and initially it just felt like fire. But then when we tuned into love, and it wasn't just relaxing, but it is almost like my entire upper body reorganized itself in the way that it's not like they changed joints, but it was just kind of it's like cogs being a little bit off and they're clinking on each other. And then all of a sudden, you move them and they just perfectly go together. The system kind of click, 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 click. And it's just almost like this little robotic thing of all of the joints just kind of going back into place. But it wasn't just the feeling, the shape of me is different as
Isn't that amazing?
It really is.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so then we ask ourselves, what feels better to you, right? Anger or love? And that love is medicine, literally. Love is medicine for your body. It's like taking a syringe and just hooking it right up to your veins and allowing that energy to fill your body with love. And that is where the healing and the magic happens. And The beauty of all of this is that you don't really need to have a syringe. You just need to tune into, connect with love, forgiveness, letting go. We have this amazing, extraordinary technique called tapping, right? That can actually help us to move it through, move it out, or even just allow you to heal on a deep level, to forgive, or if nothing else, to create a shift for peace in the way that you think about yourself and in your life.
Yeah. And as you're talking about that and the necessity to release it, my friend Catherine Poole is a medical intuitive. I was taking a class with her years ago, and she said, first it throws feathers, then it throws elephants. One way or another, it's going to get your attention.
Yes. That's a great way to put it. I love that.
Yeah. And there's probably a few steps between the feather and the elephant, but like as an articulation, it's something that, gets us in that particular direction.
Absolutely. So you want to be attuned to that. You want to really listen to those whispers, right? And sometimes it's not even necessarily, it might not show up in your body yet, fortunately, but it's the whispers that you're hearing in your mind. It's the thoughts that you are thinking over and over again. It's those memories that you're replaying over and over again. Those things that you're like, I can't share this with anyone, but it's a massive burden. It's something that weighs on you. It's something that you are like, almost like stuck in this bird cage. And you have the key. You have the key to open it up and let yourself out and fly away, or just be free and be the person who you want and need to be. You're the only person who has the key. And just to remember that. So when you recognize that these thoughts, these whispers, these feathers, before it's elephants, you want to pay attention to that. Those are the things that you want to connect with. Those are the things that you either want to talk with someone, share with someone, connect with someone, write about it, tap on it, do all of the things, whatever it takes, so that you don't have to be burdened with these secrets.
And so like what there's a huge difference in my mind between simple and easy. Something that is simple, I can articulate. Something that is but it doesn't necessarily mean it's easy to do. And so I have been, over the course of the last number of months, trying to be doing exactly what you're talking about, trying to listen much more closely and be much more present. And the thing that I realized that when I'm in this particular chair at my desk, I am aware to my waist. And at this particular bend and whatever. So even when I'm trying to do that particular thing, it's like, oh yeah, I know what's going on right here. And I've lost half of my body. And I say that to say that I'm recognizing that it's not simply an act of the will to tune in. It's a skill. Absolutely. Like I just can't say, I'm going to tune in now. And it's something that we get better at with practice as we're doing that. And so like, I think like as we're like navigating this, it's like, okay, I'm just going to be aware now. Like that's not what it's going to take in this particular case. Like we really need to be like paying attention and tuning in. And so for you, what does it look like when you're tuning in? Like, what is your process? What are you thinking? Like, are you scanning from top to bottom? Are you listening to your heart? Like, what is the kind of the metaphor that you're doing now that you are tuning in? I'd love to hear your process.
Absolutely. So you're right. I mean, it is a skill. There is no doubt it's a skill. And I've been doing this and learning about it and reading about it. And I've had my own teachers and trainers and therapists and, energy healers. So I have trained myself to pay attention. I've trained myself to, and then of course I still miss things all the time. But, for the most part for me, it's one of two things. If I can't identify emotionally what's going on for me, I will use what's going on for me physically as a portal. And, and anybody who has followed me or seen my videos or whatever, I am very, very vocal about how important it is to connect what's going on with your feelings, with what's happening in your body. And so for some people, it's easier to say, wow, I've got this neck pain. I don't know what's going on. I can't even imagine what's going on. I can't even, I can't connect with it. And then just start tapping with that, start tapping with the neck pain. And all of a sudden, some emotions will start to come up. For others, for other situations or times, it will be connecting with, what is stressing me out right now. I will start to pay attention to my thoughts. Where are my thoughts going? If my thoughts are a little bit more on the negative side, if they are a little bit more doom and gloomy, like a little bit around the uncertainties in life and that sort of thing, I will pay attention to that. I take every morning of my life, I make some time. Sometimes it's only 3 minutes, sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's an hour to just connect, especially because I work with so many people. So I need to be in a place of feeling grounded and feeling connected myself. So it's what I do for a living. It's probably a little bit, I don't want to say easier because there's no measurement for how easy or hard this is for anybody. But it's something that I make as a priority for me. Right. It's important in my life. And so doing a little bit of tapping every day, making sure I do that, doing some breathing exercises, writing, journaling, that sort of thing. It's all just so important, it's so important to do. In fact, we could do some tapping.
I would love to do some tapping in just a moment. Yeah. But I have one question first before we do that.
Okay.
So one of the reasons as a species that we exist is our subconscious mind has learned to develop cause and effect relationships. There's footprints in the mud. There's a giant fuzzy creature over there. The berries are red. They're probably poisonous. This has gone from green to yellow. It is now ripe. Like we're like these cause and effect machines, which is an awesome thing, except when we find ourselves in a factor, at least this is something I bump into, where there's a part of me that is afraid to heal something until I know the cause and effect relationship of what is going on. And sometimes when we tune into something physical in the process of doing it, just because we're tapping, because we're aware, maybe we have some guided imagery stuff. I love putting a little cartoony face on the front of any physical ailment I have and like, talk to me, dude, see what's going on to see what's behind it. But sometimes I can get in my own way of stopping my healing because my mind wants to understand why it is before it releases. Is it a necessity to understand why we are the way that we are to release it? Or is it simply enough that I have something emotional that I'm not talking about that shows up physically and I release it just from the physical body? Does that matter?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think when we're talking about secrets, a lot of times we don't share our secrets because of that cause and effect, right? Because we are afraid, we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty there of how someone is going to respond. Your initial question, to answer that, I don't think it matters. I think as long as we tune into it and we tap into the emotion and that sort of thing, then as long as we tap into it, our body is, what's that phrase? The power that has created the body is the power that heals the body. Your body wants to heal. And so when you are able to take the disruption of anger, of fear, of worry, of resentment, guilt, shame, and all of those things, I'm not worthy, I'm undeserving, all of those things. When you take, those are all disruptions in your energy system. Our energy is just in constant flow, but there's a break in that energy when we are holding on to those emotions. And so coming back to your question, I think people don't like to share out loud what is happening for them because they don't know how it's going to be received, right? They don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty, whether it's about your lifestyle, whether it's about your hopes and dreams, whether it's about that bad thing that you determined, that happened when you were 11 years old, whether it's what someone did to you, it just doesn't matter. If you think that it's going to come back to you in some way, if you think you're going to hurt somebody else, you think that you're going to be hurt, you think you're going to be judged, there's a lot of vulnerability around sharing these things, right? And that's really where tapping comes in. I mean, I can say I have secrets from my past, being young and a teenager, things I probably wouldn't share with anybody, but because it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, I've done my own tapping. I haven't done anything so horrible, but enough that, it lives in my own brain, right? And so I've done the tapping, I've done the therapy around it or whatever. And so it doesn't matter anymore. There's no charge around it. If I think about these things, there's just no charge. And I can say with my many, many, many clients over the years, I've worked with thousands of people, and I can't tell you how many people that once they have shared what is going on for them. Once they have done tapping, they've done some energy work, let's get it moving, let's move it out, let's heal from it, let's create forgiveness. Even if you don't have to tell everybody your secrets, that's not what this is about. You don't have to tell everybody your deepest, darkest things that have happened to you. That's up to you, right? I'm not here to tell anyone to do anything, but you want to make peace with it. That's where we're going with this, is that you want to create some peace. So even if you don't know how somebody is going to respond, it's about you. It's about what is happening in here, in your heart, in your mind, in your body. It's not about anybody else.
Awesome. Great. Let's do some tapping.
Okay. Let's do some tapping to release secrets from ourselves. So let's just take a second and let's just take a deep breath in. And just connecting with things that lie deep, right? Things that lie deep in there. And so when we're ready, we're going to tap on the side of the hand, either one.
Everybody tap along with us as you're watching.
Even though I may be holding on to a secret.
Even though I may be holding on to a secret.
Or many secrets.
Or many secrets.
And it may be really weighing on me.
And it may be really weighing on me.
Affecting my body and maybe even my health.
It may be affecting my body and even my health.
I honor and accept myself.
I honor and accept myself.
And all the reasons why I can't let go.
And all the reasons I can't let go.
I'm open to finding some peace around this.
I'm open to finding some peace around this.
Even though there are things I haven't shared with anyone.
Even though there are things I haven't shared with anyone.
I just can't.
I just can't.
Maybe I have some guilt and shame around it.
Maybe I have some guilt and shame around it.
I'm open to finding peace around this.
I'm open to finding peace around this.
I am worthy and deserving of letting go.
I am worthy and deserving of letting go.
And we're just going to tap through the points. I have a secret.
I have a secret.
Things I can't share with anyone.
Things I can't share with anyone.
And it may really weigh on me.
And it may really weigh on me.
It's a burden I carry.
It's a burden I carry.
And maybe it's about something I've done.
And maybe it's about something I've done.
Maybe it's about something someone did to me.
Maybe it's about something someone did to me.
Maybe it's the way I treated someone.
Maybe it's about the way I treated someone.
Maybe it's about my lifestyle.
Maybe it's about my lifestyle.
Maybe it's about someone I love.
Maybe it's about someone I love.
Maybe it's a secret about my sexuality.
Maybe it's a secret about my sexuality.
Or even the thoughts I have about my body.
Or even the thoughts I have about my body.
Maybe it's about my dreams and aspirations.
Maybe it's about my dreams and aspirations.
Whatever it is for me.
Whatever it is for me.
It's been painful.
It's been painful.
Mm-hmm. And it really weighs me down.
And it really weighs me down.
I'm afraid of being judged or hurt.
I'm afraid of being judged or hurt.
I'm afraid of hurting someone else.
I'm afraid of hurting someone else.
I just don't know how it's going to be received.
I just don't know how it's going to be received.
I'm ready and willing to create a shift around this.
I'm ready and willing to create a shift around this.
I'm open to releasing shame and guilt I carry with me in my cells.
I'm open to releasing shame and guilt that I'm carrying in my cells.
Releasing vulnerability and disappointment from my cells.
Releasing vulnerability and disappointment from my cells.
I'm releasing anger and resentment from my cells.
I'm releasing anger and resentment from my cells.
I'm releasing all these trapped feelings from my cells.
I'm releasing all these trapped feelings from my cells.
What if I have different choices?
What if I have different choices?
What if I can do this differently?
What if I could do this differently?
I may decide to never share this with anyone.
I may decide to never share this with anyone.
And that's okay.
And that is okay.
That is my choice.
That is my choice.
But I am ready to find peace around this.
I am ready to find peace around this.
I'm feeling guided to find peace around this.
I'm feeling guided to find peace around this.
The mental space this takes up for me is too big.
The mental space that this takes up for me is too big.
And it's taking a toll on my thoughts and my body.
It's taking a toll on my thoughts and my body.
And my life.
And my life.
I'm open to honoring my true self.
I'm open to honoring my true self.
I am open to releasing and letting go.
I'm open to releasing and letting go.
Because I've been stuck for too long.
Because I have been stuck for too long.
And it is time for me to live my best life.
And it is time for me to live my best life.
I am not my past.
I am not my past.
And I am not my story.
And I am not my story.
And it is time for me to create something new.
And it is time for me to create something new.
I am safe to be free.
I am safe to be free.
And I am safe to be me.
And I am safe to be me.
I am releasing secrets from my cells.
I am releasing secrets from my cells.
I am releasing the burdens that I carry.
I am releasing the burdens that I carry.
It's so overdue.
It is so overdue.
Mm-hmm. I am evolving.
I am evolving.
And I am connecting with what my heart desires.
And I'm connecting with what my heart desires.
And I am living my truth.
And I am living my truth.
And I always tap on the wrist to end, just like this, and say peace. Take a big deep breath in. Really good work.
So it was really interesting as we did that, and it could just be because I haven't slept in a day and a half. But as we went into it, it went like intensity, like I noticed things, and then there was release. So it wasn't like, oh, I notice what's going on and it's getting better and it's getting better and it's getting better. And part of it, I think, was, there were certainly some provocative statements at the beginning where you were literally going, this thing I don't want to say, and this thing I don't want to say, and this thing I don't want to say. But even like, it wasn't as if when you did that, there was memories or people or stuff like that was coming forward. But as we were doing it, like, again, that body was just kind of, and then at a certain point it started to go, and just expand out of that particular place.
Yeah. And the important thing about this is just obviously a very general, tapping ground that we're doing here. And the key here is really always to be as specific as possible, especially when you're dealing with memories, experiences, thoughts, feelings. So for anybody who's listening, who's like, oh yeah, I've got this one thing, or I've got these few things here that have just been, sort of weighing on me. The key is to really be as specific as possible. That's really the key with this. And to just giving yourself permission to feel whatever it is you're feeling. And purposefully, we start with the tapping round with sort of poking a little bit, to sort of bring it up a little bit and to amp it up a little. And we're telling the truth with that, right? I mean, everyone has their own variations of that, but to tell the truth with it so that you can acknowledge it. Your body is listening, your cells are listening, your organs, your glands, your whole physiological makeup is listening as you go through and do that tapping. And it is responding. It's responding even if you still have some of these secrets, these things that are still lingering for you. So being specific is going to be absolutely 1,000% be key, and and to tell the people who are listening to reach out for help with some of these, because if they really are pretty intense or deep traumas, you want to know what you're capable of doing yourself. But very oftentimes we need help with that.
And one of the things that one of the phrases you use there that I want to shine a light on is you said specific as possible. And oftentimes what we do is we mistake specific as possible as specific. because sometimes as specific as I can be is it's just, and like I don't even have words, and then it's like I am angry, I am angry, I am angry at, I am angry at, I am angry at because I am angry, like, and it's not to the fourth or fifth or sixth round do I even like have vocabulary for what's going on, and I'm being as specific and possible as that. And like you said, when we do a process like this, it's, you know, it's going to be this flower that is unfolding. You know, it's here, it's a little more specific, it's a little more specific. And then the other note that you made is just so super key and super critical, is that it's then also about when we bump into our capacity to deal with something where it's too big for me to hold space for myself and to do the work, to then be in a circumstance where we're reaching out. And I would be willing to bet, and I would love to hear your thought on this, I would be willing to bet these are the types of things that probably we're more likely going to be wanting external help than not, only because if I've been carrying this thing around for 2.5 decades, it is unlikely all of a sudden is going to be safe and comfortable for me, even if I'm gently tapping away at that particular thing, that I'm guessing that there is probably a reason why it has been secret, or I'm trying to keep it secret for so long. Part of it is being exposed, but part of it is like capacity and being able to like stare it in the eye and deal with it. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. That's so important. So important, because tapping is great on so many levels, right? Yeah. But our subconscious is going to protect us in every single way possible. At the end of the day, we want to be loved. We want to feel like we are worthy. We want to be accepted. And I just lost my train of thought with this. So you tell me what you said.
Well, I have a question, and maybe
I have so many things going in my mind. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, take a nice big deep breath, tap inside of your hand. You're gonna be fine.
There was something I was going to say about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, that we can't with our conscious, thank you. We can't with our conscious mind always get ourselves out of this. Right. And so we need a different mindset. We need a shift of some sort. And so sometimes we need somebody else to help us with that. You're right. If we've been carrying with us for 20 years, all of a sudden we're not going to have this. Oh, I know, I can think of this differently and this is going to be fine. Sometimes we need someone to help us create that.
And the other thing, like, and I'm curious what you think about this analogy, you know, for me, it almost feels like, you know, I've injured my foot and therefore I'm not walking properly on my foot and my ankle is twisted a little bit. And I just keep walking in that particular fashion. And so it's not like it's something that is impacting me every moment of the day and it's in the way, but I'm not functioning in a way that's proper. You know, there's one thing that's like, there is this thing that is preventing me from marketing my business or preventing me from asking someone out on a date or something that is very driven. This stuff, it's almost, particularly the things that are from our past that, you know, have nothing to do with what is going on today. It's just like a backpack that has a bunch of bricks in it and I'm just lugging it around and it's impacting me because I'm lugging it around, but it's not as if it's being triggered because I'm at the mall or I'm at work or I'm with my family. And it feels like as we're talking about this, the types of things that you're talking about feel knowable, but less like knowable in the moment, if that makes sense as I'm describing it.
Yeah, we know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. So there's some comfort in carrying that bag of bricks around. It's like you're used to it, right? You're just used to carrying that bag of bricks. But when you notice that like little by little, someone's pulling a brick out there, or you can reach out and, you know, and you can grab one at a time, then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this feels lighter.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know what you don't know until you start moving with it, till you start healing it, till you start letting go. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this really feels lighter. This is such a relief. I mean, and that is what I hear all the time with people who do tapping. It's such a relief.
And that's what I like. I'm a really big fan of, you know, the guidance that you were giving in the beginning about doing it for a little bit every single day. Tune in, see what you notice, and just tap on whatever it is you notice. If it's an emotion, if it's a tension or whatever. And again, like we were talking about, specific as possible, as I am, I think I've mentioned this a couple of times already in the last 20 hours, but like the single favorite thing a client will ever say to me is, I know this has nothing to do with it, but.
Yes.
And when we land in a spot where, we're working on this tension in my shoulder and it's like, there's nothing to do with it, but. Okay, the fact that you are surprised by, as we are doing this, we're gently doing it in a way where all of a sudden it is now, again, unfolded in front of us in a way that allows us to create a little space and a little transformation.
And that's exactly what happened with this woman I was saying who had an abortion. And she was like, I'm sure this has nothing to do with it. And that to me is like, that's when the alarms start ringing. That has everything to do with it.
Oh, no. It's something's going on, but it's definitely not this one thing. Right. It's definitely not this one thing. Yes. Absolutely. If you're telling me it's definitely not this one thing, I know exactly where we stand on this particular thing. We now have a door to walk through.
Absolutely. Happens all the time. Thank you for mentioning it. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. But the thing, like, again, like the thing I love about this, and just this is so on brand for you. It's a simple, small, incremental step about being where I am right now. And if I am persistent and consistent about going after the simple, small thing that is in front of me right now, multiplied over days and weeks and months, that sense of, oh my gosh, I can't believe how free it comes from our clients, comes from that thing. And like, it's super cool to find like this really, really deep trauma and we make it go away and there are fireworks and gold stars in the fridge because we did a good job as a tapper today. And as more time passes, I just want really gentle incremental change. Like I like, if there's a necessity for me to have this big honking transformation and do something like that, I am 100% open to that happening if that's what needs to happen in my life. But it is so not my desire anymore. It's so much more okay, tune in. What do you notice? Tune in, break a little piece apart, tune in and step into it in that particular way.
Well, I'm actually glad you mentioned that because I think for many people, that's all people can tolerate, right? Is that like, I mean, sometimes there are those big, like huge, like, oh my God, breakthroughs or whatever. But for the most part, if people have been struggling for a long time or carrying around these old programs and beliefs and that sort of thing, many times that's all people can tolerate is a little increment here, a little increment. And then all of a sudden it's like seeing the forest through the trees, right? You see this tree and all of a sudden all the trees are gone. So, so that's a really important point. And that tapping, and the work we do, can be super gentle. It doesn't always have to be the huge, monumental, right?
Yeah. And the other thing that happens is we forget how much faster slow tapping is than lots of other things. That if I'm only comparing my tapping to my other tapping, it can feel glacial. It's like, oh my gosh, it took 6 tapping sessions for me to do this thing, where with another modality, it might have taken 18 to 36 months. Right. But I'm just having this skewed sense because sometimes I tap and 3 minutes later, I'm doing backflips out the door because I've taken care of what I need to today. Yep. And so like our sense of speed, because we are tappers, can get distorted as we think about that.
There's no doubt about that. For sure.
Awesome. Excellent.
Thank you.
As always, Julie, like, I always love our conversations because you're one of the people I know that when we have a conversation, it's going to be a simple straight line with something that is practical and useful that allows us to just kind of go, okay, this thing is sprung free and it makes a huge difference. I am all for, pack smalls plays big type things where we just do the little things like that and it plays out in the long run in that way.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, you are such a gift. Thank you again so much for having me, really.
Of course.
So grateful. And I'm going to keep watching. And I mean, every interview is like better than the next. I mean, everybody who's just giving so much. So it's amazing. Phenomenal.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Julie. I will talk to you really soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.
If you found this interview inspiring, I would encourage you to support the Peaceful Heart Network by going to 24hoursoftapping.com/support or clicking the link in the description. And you will see on the screen right now a playlist to all of the interviews from this year's and last year's 24 Hours of Tapping. I hope you enjoyed those as well.